Have you ever wondered how to make good habits stick? Or maybe have you ever wondered how to get rid of bad habits? In today's video, we are going to talk all about habits, how to make them, how to break them, and how to keep on getting better with time. So let's get started with today's video. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome. My name is Flor and I post new videos every single week talking about productivity, talking about working for yourself, talking about content creation, and talking about books. If you like what you're seeing, of course, don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below and hit the notification bell so you can be notified of every time I upload a new every single week. So in today's video, we are going to be talking about habits, and I am going to share the methods to build good habits, the methods to break bad habits, and how to keep on improving, how to become the person you want to be through your habits. For this, I am going to take as a reference the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. I have already talked about this book in one of my book reviews videos that will be linked up here right now, so you can go and watch that if you haven't watched it already. And I have some notes. I am a very good student in that sense. As I was reading the book, I realized that there was a lot about this book that I wanted to share. There's some great concepts, some great ideas, some great recommendations that I thought would be good to share on my channel and this video in case you haven't read this book. So maybe you can go and read it right after watching this video, or maybe you can have an idea, a sense of what this book is about without reading the actual book. I am going to be linking the notes I made on this book down below in the description box in case you want to go ahead and read them. And with that being said, let's get started with today's video. First of all, we should know what a habit is. A habit is a routine or behavior that is performed regularly and in many cases automatically. So what this book is about, and as the title suggests, is all about making these small, tiny, atomic habits in your life that then lead on to bigger changes, to bigger things happening in your life. How you can change small behaviors in your day-to-day life that then can lead to bigger changes in your personality, in who you are, how you present yourself to the world, how your days go along. I really like this idea of thinking about these changes from these very tiny things, because usually, and what the book says as well, is that we think of big goals, big things we have to accomplish in a year or a quarter or a month or whatever. Like, okay, I'm going to run a marathon, or I'm going to be a morning person and wake up at 5 a.m. every morning, or I'm going to hit the gym every single day, or I want to read 100 books a year. So in all of these cases, we are talking about results. We are talking about final goals, final things that we want to see accomplished. And in reality, you do not improve according to your goals, but you improve according to your habits. How you break down that goal you have and how you change that into a habit, something you can actually incorporate into your life, and how you become the person that runs a marathon, how you become the person that wakes up at 5 a.m. every day if you want to do that, how you become the person that reads 100 books. So I really like this approach about changing more about your mindset, more about the person you are, rather than thinking about these goals. And one thing that's mentioned in the book is how winners and losers have the same goals, and that should tell us that goals don't work. Goals should not be the measuring point, because a soccer team that wins a championship has the same goals as the team that loses the championship, which is to win the cup. Or a gymnast that gets the gold medal has the same goal as the one that gets on 10th place or 20th place. So what makes the difference between the winning team, the winning gymnast? Not the goal, because everyone wants to win, everyone wants to be the best, but it's how they organize, how they create and build these habits into their day-to-day life in order to improve day by day. So once you know that you improve your life by this one tiny 1% each day that makes you improve a lot in the course of a year, you might be wondering, okay, I'm ready, I'm on board, I want to get better, I want to build better habits. So how do I do that? So James Clear says that a habit can be divided into 4 different behaviors. First one is the cue, then the craving, then the response, and then the reward. So if you analyze each of these behaviors, you're going to see that the cue is what begins this behavior, this habit, something that triggers information in your brain saying that if you do this, you might get a reward. Then you have the craving, which is some sort of motivational force that leads you to do something. You have to have some sort of power, desire in your brain, in your body, in order to want to do a certain type of activity. Then you have the response, which is the action, the actual habit, what you actually do once you see the cue, once you have a craving, what you do with that, how you respond. And in this case, it's a habit. And then the fourth part is the reward. In order to make habits stick, what James Clear proposes is that you need a reward. You need something in exchange for doing that habit that sometimes it's not something you really want. It's something that has some level of effort, that it's in some way maybe a bit more difficult than you would expect. So what he does is he takes these four parts of a habit and then he turns them into different laws. And these laws can be used in order to build a good habit or to break a bad habit. So how do you build a good habit? The first law that transforms from the cue is to make it obvious. The second law that comes from the craving is to make it attractive. The third law that comes from the response is to make it easy. And the fourth law that comes from the reward is to make it satisfying. And if you invert these laws, you can have the rules in order to break a bad habit. For example, the inversion of the first law, which is to make it obvious, would be to make it invisible. The second law, to make it unattractive. The third one, to make it difficult. And the fourth one, to make it unsatisfying. So once we have this idea, we are now going to talk a bit more about each of these laws and how you can build good habits and break bad ones, applying each of these laws to the different activities and things in your life. So the first law says that in order to make a good habit stick, you have to make it obvious. So as I mentioned before, we have cues, which are things in our life that trigger something in our brains that makes us want to perform this activity, this habit, because we know it's going to bring us a reward. But with time, there are certain things in your life that become so part of it that you start to not see these cues, not see these things. And at the same time, if you want to incorporate something in your life, you should make it obvious, visible. You should make it be there somewhere in your life, in your day-to-day, in order for it to become part of your routine. So how do you make a habit more obvious? This book has 3 different ideas for you to do that. One of them is tying a new habit to a certain day and time. For example, let's say you want to go to the gym. You want to be the person that goes to the gym every single day of the week. So go ahead and book a class. So you have a dance class every day at 7 p.m. So you have a day and a time where you should be doing this thing. So that helps you organize. That helps you make that habit part of your routine, of your day-to-day life. Another thing that you can do, for example, is what's called habit stacking, which means that you add a new habit that you want to incorporate with a different habit that is already part of your routine. Let's say you want to start taking vitamins early in the morning and you always forget to do so, but you always drink a coffee in the morning. So what you should do is, for example, place the vitamins next to the coffee machine. So every morning when you're making your coffee, you see the vitamins there and you remember to take them. And the third alternative that he presents is that you should make it very visible, because vision is our biggest sense and the one that triggers the most things. So if you want to make something part of your life, make it very visible in your environment, in your life, in your apartment, in your house. For example, let's say you want to do yoga every morning right after you get up. If you have your yoga mat in your cupboard in a different room and you need to go fetch that and grab your yoga clothes and everything, you're probably not going to do that. But if right before going to bed the night before, you grab your yoga mat and your yoga clothes and you put them right next to your bed on the floor, chances are that when you wake up the next morning and you see them right next to your bed, you are gonna go and do your morning yoga. So you need to be the one that helps yourself with these habits, that uses these different techniques to incorporate that habit into your life. That is the first rule, to make it obvious. And on the other hand, if you'd like to break a habit, the answer is to make it invisible. You probably heard many times that if, for example, you want to stop snacking, just go ahead and don't buy those snacks, because if you go and open your kitchen cupboard and you don't have any snacks, you're not going to eat them. If there's something in your life, in your day-to-day life, that triggers you to a behavior that you do not want to do, just hide that, take that away from your life. For example, if you don't want to use your phone first thing in the morning, just don't have it in your nightstand. Maybe have your phone in your kitchen or in your living room, so when you wake up, it's not the first thing you grab. It's just making your life easier in order to build the habits you want and break bad ones. You need to be able to fit these habits into your environment. Now, and moving on to the second rule, it is to make it attractive. And this rule comes from the idea of a craving. You do something, anything in your life, because you know there's going to be a reward. And maybe you don't think of it in day-to-day life and everything you do, but every activity you do in your life, it's because it's satisfying a craving. It's working towards a reward that you want. For example, if you sit with your books from university to study every day, it's because you want to graduate, you want to become a doctor, you want to become a lawyer. If you actually go to the gym every day, it's because you want to be healthier, you want to be stronger. So if there's a habit that you want to incorporate to your life, you need to make it attractive. You need to tie a certain type of craving, an idea of a reward to it. One of the ideas that the book has in order to make a habit attractive is that you tie that habit with another one. For example, let's say there's something in your life that you want to incorporate, but it's not very satisfying. Like, for example, doing a 30-minute workout in the morning. You know it's going to make you healthier and stronger, but it's hard and we get it. And at the same time, there is something you do every morning, which is, for example, drinking your morning matcha. And you love doing that. It brings you joy and happiness. So why not tie one habit with the other and saying, okay, if and when I do my 30-minute morning workout, after that, I will drink my morning matcha. So that habit is now tied to something you like. So you see that craving. You want to do that because then right after that, you're going to do another thing that you really, really enjoy. Another good idea is to immerse yourself in a community that in some way values the habit you want to incorporate into your life as something positive. It is said that we imitate in a way the habits of the close, people that are close to us, the many, meaning most people in the world, or the powerful, meaning people that in a way we admire. So if you manage to be part, for example, of a close community, either your family or close friends that have the same habits that you want to incorporate into your life, it's going to be easy to have them be part of your day-to-day life. And the craving is that community. That community is bringing you the reward that they are, for example, vegetarians, and you want to be a vegetarian and you see their lifestyle, so you want to imitate that. Another example would be to join a gym, to join a dance community, because having that into your life, you see other people doing the things you want to do, and then they motivate you. You want to be like them. You want to bring those habits that these people have into your life. So these are cravings, a desire within yourself to have this reward, to either be part of this community that are all vegetarians, or either be part of this gym and be able to work out daily with these people. And another thing that James Clear proposes is the idea that you change your mind frame, you change how your brain works, which I know it's very hard to do, and probably the more practical things are easier, but it has to do with the fact that the craving should be just the fact that you're doing something better. Like, present everything in your life with, not that I have to film a video, but I have the opportunity to do that. So if you change that, the whole desire of the activity becomes the craving itself. You want to do the activity just because it brings something positive, just because it's an opportunity in your life. And the opposite of that, in order to break a bad habit, would mean to make it unattractive. And you might be wondering, okay, how do I make a habit unattractive? And you need to tie that bad habit with a negative experience, with a negative reward, with a negative craving, so that you do not want to do this habit. This is again something you have to work with yourself and sometimes with your mind and brain and life experience. But if, for example, you love snacking and eating unhealthy foods and then you feel really bad afterwards, remember that when grabbing the next snack, you have to be able to tie these activities, these habits, to these bad rewards, to these unattractive rewards, in order to realize that you do not want to do the habit in the first place. Because at the beginning, maybe it brings like an immediate reward, but you know that in the long term, it's not making you the person you want to be. The third law is to make it easy. And when we talk about the third step, we talked about the habit itself. So this third part is the activity, is the action. It's what you're actually doing and incorporating incorporate it into your life. And this rule is all about making it easier, making it happen even if it's not perfect, even if it's not the best version of yourself, even if it's not what you aim to do in the long term, but just do something to begin with. The best is the enemy of the good. And what this means is that you should not try to aim to be perfect, at least not perfect on your first try, but you should aim to do it. It's better to show up every single day to do the activity you want to do than not doing it at all because it's not perfect. If you look for perfection, you're probably not going to advance. You're not going to do this little progress, this 1% improvement every single day. You need to show up on your bad days, and this applies to everything. But I think especially to something like workouts. If every day you pretend to be in your best mood, in your best shape, and have the best time when you're running, that's probably not going to happen. You need to be able to show up and go for a run even in the days you're not feeling like it. This helps you. This builds confidence inside yourself that you are not the person that misses a workout. You are working towards the person you want to be. You're helping your personality build up with every single tiny habit in order to become this best version of yourself at some point in the future. For this third law, James Clear proposes 2 different courses of action that might help you with your habits. One of them is the 2-minute rule that I have shared on my Instagram stories before that says that when you are incorporating a new habit into your life, the first part of that habit should not take you more than 2 minutes. For example, let's say you want to be a person that runs marathons, and that takes a long time, that takes a lot of work. But the first 2 minutes of that activity involves just grabbing your sneakers, putting on your socks and your sneakers, grabbing the keys, and heading out of the door. That should take you 2 minutes. What this 2-minute rule says is that the first 2 minutes of any new activity, of any new habit that you want to incorporate into your life should be super easy to do. Let's say you want to be this person, as we said at the beginning, that reads 100 books a year. So go ahead, start with 1 page. Start by saying, okay, I'm gonna read for 2 minutes, and then see how that flows and how that incorporates into your life. He proposes this like almost silly example about, okay, I want to go to the gym every single day. And he says, okay, go to the gym, but just stay there for 2 minutes. And then you go back home. And then you see how, okay, 2 minutes, I'm here 2 minutes, I could stay for 5, I could stay for 10, 15, and how you can build that up into your life. You do not need to be perfect on day 1. Try to think it as tiny, small improvements that you add into your day-to-day life that build up to this bigger habit. Just start by these small things. It's better to repeat these things every single day, to do these things that make you feel like you're becoming this person, rather than trying to do these huge changes from one day to the other, because those things don't stick around. But you actually get better and you become this better version of yourself that you want to be by changing little things every single day. And if you want to break a bad habit, when you invert this rule, you have to make it difficult. And depending on the habit, this might take many different shapes and forms, but one of the ideas that he proposes is that you use technology to your favor. For example, let's say every time when you go to bed, you scroll through Instagram or TikTok for an hour or 2 hours. So try uninstalling the app from your device. Or maybe something that he proposes that maybe it's like taking it to an extreme, but he would have someone else change all the password to his social media throughout a week, so he could not access any social media until the weekend, when this person would give him the passwords to his accounts and he could use them Saturday and Sunday, and then on Monday this person would change all the passwords again. So I know that's an extreme, but see how you can make things work to your favor. Nowadays all phones have these notifications or these apps that can prevent you from spending more than 1 hour or 2 hours on your phone or on certain apps. So use that tools to your favor. Use technology if you can in order to make something difficult. You have to see how you can pick those bad habits and how you can make them more difficult so you stop doing them. And finally, we have the 4th law, that is to make it satisfying. And we talked about a reward. Every action has a type of reward. And usually if this is a positive reward, we keep on doing that. And if the reward is not positive, we stop doing that. And this is probably actually the most tricky part, because usually bad habits bring an immediate reward while good habits bring a reward later in life. Let's say you're studying to become a doctor, but if instead of studying for your exam, you pick up your cell phone or your PlayStation or something like that and you start playing a game, that brings you an immediate reward, an immediate satisfaction. You are playing, that brings you dopamine and you're happier and enjoying your time. While if you study for an exam, that's probably going to be a hard, long process until the exam, and then probably 5, 6, 7 years of medical school until you have the reward of actually graduating and becoming a doctor. So this is complicated. Let's start by saying that. So at the beginning and when you're just getting started, you need reasons to stay on track. You need something that says good job after a good habit. So you keep on repeating it until it becomes a bigger habit, a bigger part of your life, and you start to see the results. You start seeing the six-pack, or you start seeing that you're reading a book per week. You see that you're building these bigger habits with these tiny changes. So in order to have an immediate reward, what James Clear proposes is that you track your habits, that you have a habit tracker, which is something that I have mentioned in a previous video. You can see it linked up here. And basically what you're doing with a habit tracker is that you have the days of the week and the activities you're doing, and you put a tick or a cross every time you do something that it's in your habit list. This might sound silly, but actually seeing those crosses, seeing those ticks, seeing how you are progressing helps you stay on track, because it's going to be hard at the beginning. So if you track this progress, maybe when you're feeling down, or maybe when you do not want to go for a run, you see, okay, I have been going for runs for the past 7 out of 7 days. I should keep on doing this. This is building towards something bigger, towards the person I want to be. And in a way, habit tracking also works towards all these laws we have mentioned. It's obvious, you see it right there. It's attractive. Actually putting a tick or a cross makes it attractive, and it's satisfying. It creates this visual cue that you want to act. You need to act to build this habit, to get better at this habit. And of course, you might have a bad day. You might fail. But what this book says, and what I think is very important, is to remember not to fail twice. If you're having a bad day and you skip a workout and you skip a day of reading a book, of doing your morning meditation, of taking your pills, whatever that might be, just don't do it twice. On the next day, you show up. And remember, it's better to show up on your bad days than to not show up at all. And at the same time, if you want to break a bad habit, you have to make it unsatisfying. You have to bring this bad negative feedback, this bad reward that this bad habits bringing into your life as fast as you can. So if you see the actual bad result of going into this bad habits, there are more chances that you stop doing this, that it becomes so unsatisfying that you say, okay, I'm gonna stop doing this thing that maybe brings me this immediate satisfaction, this 1 second, but then I regret it the next one. So in conclusion, what is the secret to results that last into the future, into your life? So there was this idea in the Greek world called the Socrates paradox that kind of asks, okay, does one coin make a person rich? If it's not one coin, is it 2 coins? Is it 3 coins? 1,000 coins? So if at one point you say, okay, 1,000,000 coins makes a person rich, you have to admit that 1 coin makes a person rich as well, because it's the build-up of this small tiny unit, coins in this case, that build up to a bigger something. So habits work in the same way, and that's why we talk about this atomic habit. How can these tiny unremarkable little things in your life build up to become these bigger habits? It's this 1% improvement that you keep adding and adding and adding every single day that become a bigger part of your life. In the beginning, the small improvements do not seem to really be making a huge change. Just as 1 coin does not make a person rich, reading 1 page of a book or meditating for 1 morning do not seem to be making such a dent in your life. But it's when you start stacking up, adding this tiny habit, this 1% changes and improvements, that you start seeing these big life changes, improvements. Remember that if you're having trouble changing your habits, the problem, it's not you, it's the system you have for those habits. You need to make this 4 rules work into your favor in order to build better habits and to break bad ones. So I hope this video gave you some tools, some ideas to improve your life, to improve your habits. Remember that is the power of the atomic habits that James Clear proposes. Tiny changes, remarkable results. I really hope you liked this video. I really hope it helped. Do let me know down below in the comments. And if you liked it, of course, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. That is it for today's video. As always, I will see you on the next one. Bye!